Hello everyone, this is Mr. Brain Junkie here, and today we'll be talking about an action fantasy film called The Mermaid Hospital. Be ready for some spoilers ahead. Somewhere inside a mysterious fog, a general whose name is Chan is trying desperately to grab onto his weapon, which is somehow being repelled from his hand. The man is eventually able to retrieve the spear, but quickly begins falling towards the ground in blinding speed. Suddenly, the general is stopped in the air and quickly begins hearing the screaming of his wife, making him realize that his boat is under attack. A hideous creature has managed to kill all his men, while the woman tries everything to run away. Chan is forced to watch helplessly in the air as the monster begins running towards the wife and forcing her to jump into the ocean. However, the woman is quickly grabbed onto by the creature's tongue and thrown into the air as a result. The monster swallows the woman in a single bite and landing onto the ship, causing the general to scream furiously towards the hideous killer. The creature begins charging towards the man and leaping into the air, giving the general a chance to throw his weapon directly at the monster. To his surprise, the enemy has turned into a man who pierces him right in the stomach. This causes the general to wake up in shock as he slowly regains consciousness from the reoccurring dreams of how his wife was killed. The man continues patrolling the ocean to protect his people on the island, but what he doesn't realize is that a living mermaid is heading out towards the surface. Very soon, the man begins to see a glowing light inside the ocean and quickly notices the creature jumping out from the water. Chan yells for all his men to prepare for battle, while the soldiers grab onto their bows and begins pointing all their weapons towards the ocean. However, after observing carefully, the lieutenant fails to see anything inside the water, while the captain is the only one able to witness the mermaid who's trying to lure him closer. Despite the lieutenant warning him that it's obviously a trap, the man chooses to take his weapon and quickly jumps into the ocean all by himself. Chan continues swimming deeper into the unknown and eventually manages to reach the bottom, where he's able to pass into a separate dimension that appears to be upside down. The man quickly rushes towards the noises and yells for the mermaid to show herself immediately. Suddenly, the main character notices the woman flying into the air as she slowly turns her tail into legs and eventually transforming into a human. Chan has a hard time believing what's happening in front of his eyes, while the woman begins to slowly land onto the water. The mermaid touches the ocean and conjures clothing onto her body, which is able to make her look like a goddess from the heaven. The general is amazed by the woman's beauty, but is quickly snapped out of it as he begins accusing the mermaid for killing his wife. Chan readies the weapon and charges furiously towards the girl, but this only causes the mermaid to wave her hands and begins conjuring her magic. The woman is able to open a portal right in front of the main character and transporting him into a different dimension once again. When the man eventually wakes up, he realizes that he's inside a beautiful garden where his weapon is right beside his bed. He walks slowly towards the entrance while carefully examining the area and quickly sees that the mermaid is walking outside in her human form. The man goes towards the woman's back and points the weapon towards the girl while demanding to know why she has brought him here. The mermaid tells Chan that she's not the one who killed his wife, but this only angers the man even more. She eventually decides to show the general a red shell and tells him that it belongs to the real killer. Their conversation is quickly interrupted when they're attacked by a flying weapon, which the main character is able to knock away. It turns out that they're being ambushed by a monster hunter who wants nothing more than to capture the mermaid. Surprisingly, the general decides to protect the girl, causing the hunter to charge in furiously as he strikes the man by using his weapon. The opponent is able to pull the main character forwards, but Chan manages to counter immediately and kicks the hunter across the field. However, the enemy is able to recover quickly and throws the sand towards the general, which forces Chan to dodge the attack by flipping backwards. This gives the hunter a chance to kick the main character using tremendous force and knocking the man away by using his weapon. The mermaid sees this and quickly throws throws the general into the portal that she made, which allows them both to escape. Chen is eventually able to return to his island, and the man realizes that he still has the red shell which the mermaid gave him. He goes towards the governor immediately and reports everything that has happened. The general recognizes that the red shell came from a monster that they're holding hostage inside their prison, and pleads for the old man to give him permission to investigate further. Chen goes towards the dungeon that's located on the edge of a massive cliff, and eventually goes underground, where he continuously hears the screams of torture. It turns out that the guards are punishing a prisoner by feeding him a chemical substance which mutates the victim into a hideous monster. The main character is quickly able to reach the bottom and goes over towards the man in charge who's known as Ming. Chen tells the warden that they're here to inspect the prisoners, but this greatly offends the man as he thinks that the general is insulting his honor. He mocks the main character for failing to capture the mermaid, but eventually allows Chen to investigate the area as he claims to have nothing to hide. The prison guard brings the general towards the hundreds of cells inside the cave, where the prisoners are constantly tortured and turned into terrible creatures. The man eventually brings Chen onto a large prison on the hills, where the most dangerous criminal is tied up in chains. The general looks at the monster carefully and realizes that it has the same shells on its body. The guard explains that the creature used to be a powerful wizard known as the Red Demon, and must be sealed by the talisman to prevent it from ever escaping. Realizing that they're dealing with a fearsome enemy, Chen tells the lieutenant to go look for help immediately from the priests, as he thinks that black magic is somehow involved. However, the woman argues that this might be a trap that was set up by the mermaid to cause conflict within the island, as the humans were the ones who killed most of their kind. She speculates that the mermaid is trying to get the general to fight against the warden, giving the sea creature a chance to take vengeance in the end. At the same time, Ming is having dinner inside his house and quickly notices that something is wrong. The man begins hearing the sound of a bell and eventually sees a formation of liquids in his room that quickly transforms into the monster hunter. He warns the warden that the island is in danger and accuses General Chen of secretly working with the mermaid to overthrow the governor. The hunter begins telling the man that he was given the mission to stop a sea creature who's been killing humans. He saw how the woman was trying to seduce the general into obeying her commands and trying to turn the warrior against the warden by giving him false evidence. The monster hunter showed up on the beach and tried to stop the mermaid's plan, but is proven to be no match for her magic that was able to throw him back into the oceans. The hunter tells the warden that Chen is under her spell and will do anything to kill him so that the mermaids can take over the island. On the other side, the general has decided to visit the mermaid all by himself as he traverses across the ocean at night. The man eventually notices a portal in the air and quickly sees that the woman is beginning to appear right in front of him. The mermaid slowly flies towards the main character, but Chen continues looking at the woman like she's the enemy. The girl eventually transforms her tail and lands onto the boat, but Chen quickly points his weapon towards the woman just like before. Surprisingly, he gives the mermaid the chance to kill him right away, as he knows that she must hate the humans for slaughtering her people in the past. The woman admits that the mer people will always remember what happened, but she believes that Chen is different from the others after watching the man for so long. It turns out that they have met before when they were little, and instead of trying to capture the mermaid by informing his family, Chen decided to keep the secret and spared her life. Ever since then, she has been watching over the main character, which is why she also witnessed the killing of his wife. Before their conversation continues, they're quickly attacked by a flying weapon, and the woman is shot by an arrow right in her stomach. The general grabs onto the mermaid immediately as he quickly notices that they're surrounded by the monster hunter and the warden who's wielding a bow. Chen tells the woman to run immediately before kicking the boat and flipping the entire vessel upside down as he prepares for battle. The monster hunter charges towards the main character, but is quickly repelled by the man and pushed across the ocean. The warden sees this and attacks immediately as well, forcing the general backwards as he gets ambushed by two enemies at the same time. This allows the demon hunter to jump in and strikes the man right through the vessel by using his weapon. The mermaid gets back on the surface and sees that Chen is in trouble, causing her to charge towards the humans immediately as she tries to save the main character. The woman crashes into the boat and is able to lift the enemies into the air, but she fails to see any signs of the man in the ocean. This gives her no other choice but to leave and dropping the humans into the water at the same time. What she doesn't realize is that Chen is able to climb back onto the boat, but also attracting the enemy's attention as well. The two men jumps towards the main character and making the entire vessel flip into the air before causing the boat to crash down into the water. The warden takes the chance and is eventually able to apprehend the general as they bring the man towards the governor immediately. Ming accuses Chen of colluding with the mermaid, but the general refused the accusation and states that he was only trying to find his wife's killer. However, the governor doesn't seem to care about the truth as he believes that all mermaids are evil in nature and thinks that Chen has betrayed humanity for letting the creature go. Before the conversation continues, the monster hunter quickly suggests a plan that can both punish the general and capture the sea creature at the same time. They tie up the main character with ropes and puts the man right in front of the ocean before telling the soldiers to attack the general repeatedly by stabbing his body continuously. This causes the man to scream in pain, which quickly alerts the mermaid as she opens the portal to rescue her friend. The woman is able to bring the main character back to her home once again, but soon finds out that Chen is severely wounded by the attacks. The girl is unwilling to watch the general die and begins healing the man by transferring all his damage onto her own body. When the main character eventually wakes up, he finds out that all his wounds are gone and sees that the mermaid is lying on the floor in pain. Chen holds on to the woman and quickly realizes that she saved his life, but instead of thanking the mermaid, he takes the chance and puts a trapping device on her head. This causes the girl tremendous pain, while Chen is obviously conflicted about the actions, and it's quickly revealed that this was all a ploy to capture the mermaid from the very start. All the soldiers go out towards the beach and plans to leave the area, but Chen quickly notices something familiar inside the sand. He rushes towards the object and realizes in shock that it's the hand of his lieutenant, who never made it back alive. Before he can mourn for the woman's death, the man sees that the monster hunter is dragging the mermaid outside like an animal, which makes the man regret his actions even more. The general slowly looks down at the remains of the lieutenant and surprisingly finds another shell just like the one he saw before. He looks back at the warden in anger as he thinks that Ming must be responsible for his lieutenant's death, but this only causes the man to mock the main character as being delusional. The warden goes back to his home and decides to celebrate alongside the monster hunter for finally capturing the mermaid. He tells the man to drink as much as he wants, but very soon the hunter begins bleeding profusely and realizes that Ming has poisoned the food. The man eventually falls towards the ground as the warden tells him that he's no longer needed anymore. On the other side, Chen gets a visit from the governor inside his home, and the old man brings the general towards the shrines of the ancestors. He shows the man all the paintings of the main character's family that displays all the humans killing the mermaids and questions whether if Chen knows the purpose behind the massacre. The general thinks that it's because the sea creatures attacked first, but this turns out to not be the truth. The old man reveals that Chen's ancestors were instructed by the king to take the mermaid's tears, which is only produced when the creatures suffer unbearable pain. The governor tells the general that it was his family's duty to retrieve the mermaid's tears, and he must do the same so that he doesn't shame his ancestors. The man eventually goes towards the underground prison and slowly points his weapon towards the girl once more, but the mermaid is only happy to see her friend. The woman thanks the general for saving her when she was little, and she would never blame the main character for killing her now. Chen falls into tears after hearing the woman's words, but their conversation is quickly interrupted by Ming, who mocks the general for being so weak. This causes causes Chen to scream furiously and knocking the warden onto the ground as he claims that Ming is the one who caused the death of his wife. He shows the governor the red shell that was held by the lieutenant's hand as he thinks that Ming is somehow connected with the red demon inside the prison. However, the old man does not seem to be interested in solving the case as he tells the general that he only wants the mermaid's tears before leaving the man to kill the girl. Chen looks back at the woman while thinking about everything that she's done for him and decides to disobey the orders by freeing the girl. He grabs onto the lock on the woman's head and manages to force it open until it breaks before quickly grabbing onto her and putting her inside the water so that her wounds can heal. Very soon, the mermaid is able to regain her powers and opens her eyes, eventually allowing the girl to levitate towards the surface. The woman begins opening a portal towards the man's home so they can escape the area, but when they eventually cross over, Chen quickly sees that all his family are kneeling on the floor. When the general goes into the room, he realizes that this was a trap that was set up by the warden, who begins killing all the people in front of him. This causes Chen to scream in rage, but the man is quickly stopped by his own people, who tries to convince the general that the mermaid is the one he should kill. They begin blaming the woman for everything that's happened to their family as everyone starts attacking the girl altogether. Chen is infuriated by the madness and charges towards the warden while striking him continuously on the ground as all the others are hitting the mermaid and dragging her across the floor. The people try to take the woman's life by stabbing her heart, which forces the mermaid to finally retaliate and grabs the man by his neck. Chen is able to gain the upper hand as well and kicks the warden across the room before jumping into the air and quickly pinning the man onto the floor. However, the general refuses to take the enemy's life despite what the opponent has done. The mermaid sees this and grabs onto her friend while trying to convince the man to leave all this behind, but the main character realizes that he cannot abandon his people. The governor comes out into the opening and tells the main character that the only way to save his family is to sacrifice the mermaid's life. Ming takes out the lock and throws it towards the woman while telling her that this is the only way for everyone to live. This gives the woman no other choice but to pick up the item and puts it on her head, which quickly seals all her powers once again. The girl begins levitating into the air while the main character watches in sadness, and the woman apologizes as she thinks that this is all her fault. She tells the main character that she's only able to cry once, which will permanently turn her into a sea creature that's incapable of talking anymore. She tried to hold back her tears as she knows that she'll never be with the man after returning to her true form, but this is now the only way that she can save his life. Chen watches the woman in tears while numerous pearls drop onto the floor and separating the lovers forever. Sometimes later, Chen has finally earned the label of honor for his family, but the man is unable to feel any happiness as he stares motionlessly at the sign. He walks quietly outside while carrying the trophy that was granted, and the man begins to see the mermaid's portal once again, which finally puts a smile on his face. However, it turns out that it was only his imagination, which quickly turns the man's happiness into grief as he realizes that he'll never see the woman again. Suddenly, an arrow hits the main character right on the head that was shot by the warden and killing the man before he hit the ground. The mermaid quickly feels this inside her cage and causing the creature to break out immediately. The warden goes towards the general and picks up the trophy while mocking the man before splitting the object into pieces and revealing the mermaid who's finally arrived. The creature sees that her friend has been killed and roars furiously towards the warden. Ming throws the bow at the mermaid, but the attack was quickly knocked away by the sea creature. The man takes out his spinning mace and launches in furiously, but fails to hit the mermaid once again as she easily dodges the human. The creature quickly jumps into the water and making the enemy lose the target, while giving the mermaid a chance to strike the man and knocking him into the pond. She drags the warden inside the water and smashes the man onto the wall before jumping on land and throwing him onto the ground while causing him to spit out blood. The mermaid leaps towards the enemy and slams the man onto the pillar, which ends up killing the warden as a result and making making him slowly turn into the monster hunter. It turns out that Ming was never able to kill his partner, as the man was actually tricked into an illusion, which caused the entire sky to go dark. The warden begins to hear the bells everywhere and continuously gets stabbed by the invisible hunter, who eventually kills him as a result. On the other side, the mermaid is looking hopelessly at the general's body as she tries desperately to wake him and refusing to accept the truth. She eventually decides to make the ultimate sacrifice as she holds on to the human's hand and begins transferring the wounds onto herself. The process continues damaging the sea creature and causing her to scream in pain while the general's wounds completely disappear. This causes the mermaid's body to slowly turn into dust as she looks down at the man one last time before completely vanishing from this world. Her spiritual energy eventually lands onto the general's heart, infusing her soul into the main character forever. At the same time, the governor is looking at the mermaid's pearls like he's finally achieved his goal, but quickly realizes that a portal is opening right in front of him. Chan walks out from the magical doorway while the governor is surprised that the man is still alive. He runs towards the main character immediately and tries desperately to beg for the man's forgiveness, but quickly takes the chance and stabs the general right in the heart. Surprisingly, the attack did not do any damage as Chan was protected by the mermaid's energy, which knocks the old man across the room. The main character demands to know the governor's true identity, causing the old man to laugh hysterically and transforming into the red demon who was in the prison cell. The creature explains to Chan that he was able to trick the warden a long time ago by promising to take over the whole island for the man in return for his freedom. After being released from prison, the demon managed to kill the governor and transform into the old man, and reveals that the monster hunter was actually his disciple as well. The red demon was also responsible for murdering the general's wife and framing it on the mermaids, but he never expected that the sea creature would end up helping Chen in the end. However, this also allowed him to obtain the mermaid's tears, which will make him more powerful than anyone else. Chen is enraged by this revelation, causing him to grab onto his weapon and throwing it towards the opponent, but the enemy is able to dodge the attack and recover immediately. The general charges in and strikes the demon onto the ground, but he's quickly overpowered by the old man and pushed onto the wall. Before the demon can finish the kill, Chen is saved by the mermaid's energy once again, but the enemy recovers quickly and kicks the main character across the room. Luckily, the general is able to survive the attack and grabs onto his weapon from behind before striking the enemy continuously and kicking the red demon away. The man takes the chance and stabs into the opponent's chest, eventually pushing the demon across the room and piercing right through the creature's heart. This causes the old man to vanish into the air, as Chan has finally defeated the monster who caused the tragedy inside the island. Sometimes later, Chan prays in front of all his ancestors to show respect for the last time before leaving the area all by himself. He eventually gets on the boat and decides to leave the island that's filled by misery and death, as he takes the last remaining items that were left behind by his friend. To his surprise, the mermaid's tears begin to levitate into the air and slowly forming what appears to be a portal right in front of him. The general watches in sadness while thinking about the woman he loved while slowly returning to her home. So what do you guys think about this movie? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like my videos, please press like and subscribe for more. I'll see you guys next time.